Welcome to the third anniversary of vintagesf. Each year, I like to celebrate the top 10 books that I've read that year. So I had a video for year 1, year 2, and now for year 3. If you're interested in seeing the picks that I had for those first 2 years, I'll have the links below in the description here. In the previous 2 years, I had a number of runner-ups, but this year it's just going to be my top 10. I'm going to present the first 9 in order of author's last name. So there's no particular numerical order to this. And then the last one will be my book of the year. Following the top 10, I'll just have a few thoughts about this last year. So let's get started. The first book I want to talk about is I started reading E&M Banks. And I particularly found The Player of Games to be a great book. It was a very tough call because the other book I'd read was Use of Weapons. It may be that I just read this one first and it introduced me to the culture. What's the culture? Well, let me just read briefly from the back. The culture, a human-machine symbiotic society. And there's been many game players within here, but there's a new culture coming in that they decide who rules their society by games. And these are very serious. So if the culture is to be taken seriously by this new society that they would like to bring into the culture, they need the game player to succeed. It's a great novel. I really enjoyed reading it, and I am now looking forward to reading more culture novels. The second one is Dawn by Octavia E. Butler. I read Kindred this year. It was awesome as well, but I decided that I would choose this one of her books. Dawn takes place on a spaceship orbiting outside of our moon's orbit around Earth. There's been an apocalypse, and some people have been saved by aliens. But what are the expectations of the aliens? Is this simply out of the goodness of their hearts, or is there more to it? Does power in relationships automatically mean that there's inequality in that relationship? And what are their plans to repopulate Earth? This is a deep character study looking at emotional and moral complex issues. It's the first in a trilogy, but it could stand by itself. The third book. This one is a combination nonfiction and fiction. The Lost Worlds of 2001 by Arthur C. Clarke. And you can see here it says, The Ultimate Book of the Ultimate Trip from 2001 A Space Odyssey. The movie itself was a collaboration of Stanley Kubrick and Arthur C. Clarke. They worked together on the script, and Kubrick had the final say, so things were changing, and there was constant rewrites. This book has we could call it deleted script scenes that are not in the movie. It gives a deeper understanding of this classic of science fiction and cinema. The diary portions where he talks about his relationship with Stanley Kubrick and this creative partnership are fascinating. If you like 2001, A Space Odyssey, either the movie, the novel, or both, this is a must-have as well. And now for something completely different, not quite science fiction, probably more to the fantasy horror realm, The House on the Borderland by William Hope Hodgson. This is a very small book, and it's a book that was recommended by a couple of my friends. So when I saw it, I picked it up. Set in the early 1900s in Northern Ireland, there's a couple of people hiking on a vacation. They come across a manuscript about a person in the 1800s who found a house out in the borderlands. This was a tumbled down house, and it was located near a gigantic chasm or abyss. We learn that this is really a liminal space between worlds. At times trippy, at times a bit of a horror novel. This one captured my attention and has some beautiful writing. And now let's go back in time, or is it forward in time, to Farseer by Robert J. Sawyer. What if there was a planet of dinosaurs and the dinosaurs had developed intelligence? The dinosaur society really feels like the Middle Ages, and our main character reminds us of Copernicus. He seeks to discover their planet's place in the universe and discovers some very interesting things. In some ways, this is a coming-of-age story. In other ways, it's our need to understand where we are, what we are in a universe. It's the beginning of a trilogy called The Quintaglio Ascension. This novel, though, you could read it. It's the first. You could read it and it works as a standalone again. This next one I just finished in a buddy read, Mockingbird by Walter Tevis. We're going to have a debrief in a couple days, so you can watch for that. It's going to be a live stream. This book is by Walter Tevis, as I said, and you may not know necessarily who that is, but I know you know his work. There's been movies made of many of his novels. The Man Who Fell to Earth, The Hustler, The Color of Money, and that TV show, The Queen's Gambit. He's one of those rare, popular authors who can really write. What happens in a world where the robots have taken care of us and we start to not have any more children and we lose the ability to read? Can one man who on his own learns to read change this society? And what of the robots and their leader? Now, this is more dystopia than robot uprising, and we really focus on a couple of human characters and one robot. It's a fascinating read, and if you want to learn more, join Whitney of Secret Sauce of Storycraft, Bart of Bart's Bookspace, Sam of Sam Not So Wise, and myself as we talk about it on Saturday. That'll be Saturday afternoon. I believe it is 3 p.m. Eastern Time. You'll be able to find it if you're looking for it on my channel. Now, this next one is nonfiction, and I found it in a used bookstore, I believe, in Tucson, Arizona. Listen to the Echoes, the Ray Bradbury interviews by Sam Weller. As soon as I saw this, I picked it up because I love Ray Bradbury, and it was just an amazing read. But I discovered it was sort of a sequel, almost an appendix, to a biography that Sam Weller wrote of Ray Bradbury. So I've located that one online, and I will be eventually reading The Bradbury Chronicles by Sam Weller. By the way, Bradbury had many, many Hollywood connections. So it's really interesting to see how other media treated Ray Bradbury in television and in movies. Very, very interesting. This next one was a bit of a surprise for me. I've been reading a lot of novels this year by a Canadian writer, Robert Charles Wilson. And this one here, Spin, won the Hugo Award. It's an amazing, amazing novel. It talks about three teens being outside at night, and all of a sudden, the stars, the sky disappears. There's some sort of membrane around the world. Why has Earth been isolated? What's going on outside that membrane? As these teenagers grow, they become critical to the investigation of what's happening here. This is both a character study and a big idea novel. Definitely, definitely recommended. And one more. Remember, we're going alphabetical, so what comes after Wilson? Zamiatin. Yevgeny Zamiatin. We. This is a novel that should really be a classic, along with Brave New World and 1984. Written in 1920 in the turmoil of Russia, it didn't make its way to print for a number of years. It had to be smuggled out of Russia to make it into print. What if you lived in a city of glass where everything could be observed? If you like 1984 and Brave New World, I think you'll really like We. And of course, the title, We versus I, tells you a little bit about the philosophy and the politics within. All right, that's 9 books there. Great books. But what was my best read of the year? Interestingly enough, this year was nonfiction. I talked about that Ray Bradbury book. Well, the best book I read this year was a biography a biography of James Tiptree Jr., a pseudonym for Alice B. Sheldon. Alice B. Sheldon is a fascinating woman, born into privilege, as a child taken from Chicago's high society by her parents to the jungles of Africa. Travel and privilege lead to expectations of marriage as Alice B. Sheldon grows older. Through tumultuous relationships and different careers, we find the fascinating story of this woman. And later in life, she starts to write science fiction, but she writes it with a pseudonym, James Tiptree Jr. Many people are amazed and praise the writing of this new science fiction author. There's some speculation about this writer, and eventually someone sleuths out who it is. But what is the fallout of that revelation? Can Alice B. Sheldon still write if she's now known to be James Tiptree Jr.? This is a very well-researched examination of a fascinating person, a person of wealth and privilege, a person of unique experiences as a child, a person forced into society and marriage, a person with mental health struggles, addictions, and a person with an imagination. Now, it's quite a big book, as I said, well-researched, but there's a lot of notes at the back and references. I was curious to see what other books are out there by Julie Phillips, and I discovered from her website that she's researching Ursula K. Le Guin. Now, I know it takes her a few years to put together one of these biographies, but as soon as that one comes out, I'm going to purchase it and I'll read it and tell you all about it. So there you go, my book of the year, James Tiptree Jr., and it was called The Double Life of Alice B. Sheldon by Julie Phillips. Now, I told you I was going to say a little bit about this year. This year saw a lot of changes in my life, including a huge move from a house to an apartment, a downsizing. If you're interested, there's some videos about it. But that meant that I also read fewer books this year, hence why I don't have any runners up. The good news is I expect with year 4 that my reading tally will go up. And as you know, for this channel, I do lots of book reviews. When starting this channel, I thought all it would be book hauls and book reviews, but I discovered that I got to know some of the people who are on YouTube who talk about books. More and more, I've started to collaborate with them, to do buddy reads with them, to create videos with them, to join live streams with them. I've also traveled in my retirement and met some of these YouTubers in person. One event that I'm really looking forward to is this summer I'm going to go to Pulp Fest in Pittsburgh. Many of my BookTube friends will be there, and I look forward to getting together with them, and perhaps some of you will be there too. Look forward to that coverage this summer. Thank you for joining me on this journey, although I must say it's not just vintage SF anymore. Many of my friends are introducing me to some contemporary authors and works as well. So on into year 4. And until next time, keep reading.